Alrighty, everybody. What is going on? Welcome back to another CyberX video breakdown. In today's video, we're going to be diving into some Canton related material, some breaking fundamentals that have just recently dropped in regards to Canton developments and Solana developments, showing you all that both Canton and Solana are at the forefront of digital asset innovation and this transfer of wealth and massive onboarding of financial institutions into the digital asset ecosystem. We're going to start off with a panel that Yuval was on at the next Global Digital Asset Summit, playing some video clips as we allow people to roll in. Shout out to Crypto Erie for this one. Actually, she shared some video clips over on our X profile. But Yuval just goes on to say some very, very, very bullish things for the longevity of this space and just some things to uplift the sentiment, considering that, of course, prices are low, sentiment's low, retail fears at an all-time high. Now's the time, in my personal opinion, not financial advice, to really buckle down and focus on digital assets that are, and obviously, of course, blockchain companies that are really partnering and helping transform finance, especially in this most recent market downturn. And Canton Network is definitely one of those layer ones that is just working massively with financial institutions behind the scene. So as we allow people to roll in, let's just play some video clips, bend your ear. Let's talk through some of the things that Yuval here says. Aqua, if you have any feedback that you want to input after some of the clips that I have to play, you're more than welcome to.
Absolutely, bro.
Sweet. All right. So this first video clip, he goes on to talk about how massive the opportunity is here and why people are excited about the digital asset ecosystem.
They are already using Canton today, and we'll talk in a minute why, and how. So why is everybody so excited about crypto? And we hear a lot of times people talking about 24/7. The number is incorrect. Crypto market have went down quite significantly since. I think it's about 2.3 trillion. But when we look at the opportunity on the right, this is why people are interested, right? This is just in capital markets, commodities, fixed income. We almost have $1 quadrillion worth of trading a year. In payments, we have 2 quadrillion. For those that don't know, quadrillion is 1,000 trillions. So the numbers that we're going after are significantly higher than where crypto is today. And therefore, I think the opportunity is still extremely exciting and is worth me investing 12 years of my life so far to go after this journey. So what is blockchain trying to?
So that was a good little tiny clip just to put some things into perspective. $961 trillion opportunity, which is massive. So to think that we couldn't see multiple layer ones in the future with a 500 billion to a trillion to in some cases, probably 2, 3, $4 trillion market cap, in the next, I'd say, put a long-term time frame on it, anywhere between 4 to maybe 5 years out, is very realistic in my personal opinion, right? At least from what I'm hearing, especially the likes of Sandy Call, and we'll get into some of those video clips later on. I know that you really enjoy this video clip here, Aqua, from when Sandy Call the other day predicted a $40 trillion market cap this next bull run, which is just massive. So back to this panel. All right. The next little tiny thing that stood out to me that he said here at roughly about an hour and 48 minutes into this conversation, and he goes on to say, Yuval Ruse, that we work or have worked with all of the major brokers in Korea, which I think is just a huge statement. That's massive because we haven't seen announcements that that's happening yet. So maybe there's some announcements that are set to come down the pipeline. And we know that the Asia Pacific region and the Asia regions are super active in the digital asset ecosystem. So it's just great to see Canton, putting in work globally over there, where Yuval here says that they have talked to and been in conversation with all the major brokers in Korea. Take a second here and listen to what he says.
To onboard the top 1,000 market cap companies in the United States. And they selected Canton as the first network to do that. So in October, any market participant would be able to move a US equity and a US Treasury in real time 24/7. I can tell you that most Korean brokers are in the process of connecting to the DTCC project. I'm pretty sure we were working with every one of the major Korean brokers. And I just want to give.
Yeah, you raised your eyebrows there. You heard that, right? We are working with almost every one of the major Korean brokers.
And he referred to the DTCC project. So it sounds like the DTCC has put something together behind the scenes. Canton Network being chosen as one of them, and the other ones that what's her name had mentioned as well, because they had mentioned what Stellar now and Solana, I believe, as well.
No, they haven't. They haven't announced Solana. We're actually going to get into that here in a second. But they've announced Stellar, Solana, and Besu. Stellar goes
Oh, okay.
live. Stellar goes live Q1 2027. Canton goes live in October this year.
Damn, that's so dope.
Um, so the next thing that he talks about here is just rethinking how we approach the possible opportunity here in terms of market size, right? So this just stood out to me because it just puts things in a perspective compared to where we're at right now. Sitting at, $2 trillion market cap, even if we were to go down $2 trillion, I would not want to be a participant in the future. Saying that I had the opportunity to buy crypto at $2 trillion market when it's sitting at $10 trillion plus, and say that I fumbled the ball, right? So listen to what he says here.
Thing is that you're going to be able to hold your Tesla stock in your wallet, and you're going to have things like Aave or Morpho, or the equivalent of those things, where you would actually be able to pledge your Tesla stock directly to a person that would want to borrow it, where you would get directly the yield of lending those stocks. And again, like I said, this is not necessarily that it's going to be offered to you through service provider, but you as the customer would be the main beneficiary of that technology. So we're seeing today on the DTCC project already 50 software vendors that are building new applications on top of the DTCC offering, all the way from securities lending, for repoing securities, for creating. NASDAQ is building a new exchange for tokenized equities. We mentioned New York Stock Exchange. So we're seeing 50 different vendors that are going to build new applications on top of Canton when DTCC goes into production in October. And I'm extremely excited. Again, the US equity market plus the US Treasury market, if I'm not mistaken, is close to $70 trillion in size. So we keep on talking about TVLs in the billions. I think we need to readjust kind of the numbers that we as an industry are shooting for.
Bro,
Bro, yeah.
he just said that they're basically building DeFi projects, bro. He didn't mention DeFi, but what he had said those projects consisted of is pretty much DeFi in a nutshell.
He just
That's
he said, he confirmed word for word that there are up to 50 vendors right now that are ready to go live and are building projects for the go live launch in October of this year.
and he's saying we need to change the topic from billions to trillions. I believe this man wholeheartedly.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I really truly think that when things hit the fan, like, people don't really understand how big traditional finance is. And because the market sentiment in crypto right now is so tainted, it's very hard to look past the current environment. But like, just look at what's happened with the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 over just the past 6 months alone. It's almost like every single month, bro, $1 trillion has been added to the market cap in S&P 500, literally month after month after month. So imagine when profit taking happens from equity markets, market sentiment flips back risk on, where we have either easing from central banks or de-escalation in the Middle East tensions that have been causing high inflation pressures and rising oil prices. Well, imagine when we have all those things behind us and we see supportive tailwinds for risk assets, bro, on top of clear regulation and on top of institutional FOMO, and on top of, if we see these institutions, which I think we will see, these use these layer ones for their real utility, bro, it's like almost, it's easy, honest to God. Like, if you just think about it, if you have the patience and the capital to risk right now, this is the easiest generational play in our lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. You just have to have some patience. That's it.
Yeah. Literally just learn how to make income while you wait for this, so that way you're not dependent on your long-term investments. Buy when prices are low and everybody's fearful. And hopefully you're well aware enough of how to earn yield in DeFi, so that way while your dollar cost averaging into these layer ones, you can earn yield on top of your holdings to hedge against the volatile downside that we're currently experiencing. And then you just compound the yield and build a bigger bag, so that when we come out of this cycle, bro, all the people that have been earning, you know, 4 to 5% or 6% or whatever on Canton, the people that have been earning on Solana, people that have been earning on XPR and Metal and have just been stacking and compounding every day are going to come out so much more well prepared when we finally fall out of this winter.
And bro, do you think, because it sounds like, just listening right now to him, it sounds like we could potentially see $250 in crypto in our lifetime. I don't know when that day comes, but it sounds like we could be alive. When maybe we're 80, 90 years old. I don't know how old we'll be, but a quadrillion, 1,000 trillion, and him saying how they're going after that, and this is not peanuts, billions, and it's trillions, and he's
I'd
given
like
up,
to think so.
sacrificed 12 years of his life, like
I'd like to hope that that would happen, but bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be so ecstatic if we just reach like 20 trillion. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
Like, at 20 trillion, bro, a lot of people that invested in the right projects as a retail investor are going to be so well off. You're going to see four figures turn to multiple five and six. You're going to see five figures turn to multiple six and seven. If you've got 6 or 7 figures invested into crypto, there's a high probability with the right projects and layer ones 10 years down the road that couple of 6 to 7 figures that you have invested right now is going to be worth billions in some cases. I mean, this is literally the biggest generational opportunity. And if you fumble this ball right now, honestly, looking back 5-10 years from now, man, I don't even know what I would do if I had to say I freaking didn't buy crypto at sub $2 trillion.
You better have a damn good excuse. Shit.
Moving on here, this was another good post this week. So many things happening in the Canton network ecosystem. I've been paying attention to this very closely. This lady, Aurelia Dilemas, who used to work at Ripple, I've highlighted this before when this took place. This caught my attention. And because obviously, of course, XRP is my biggest bag and was my first crypto investment, still is to this day, bought most of my XRP sub 27 cents, most of it around 11 cents. I used to follow a lot of people from Ripple, and on my LinkedIn profile, I noticed, back I think it was last year, she stopped working for Ripple as the Ripple X Partner Success VP, and she went to go work at Digital Asset, right, the creators of Canton Network. And she was recently involved in this post here with Zodiac Custody, talking about why capital mobility starts with custody. And so here's the post right here. And just a couple of highlights. I'll read thoroughly through this. I won't bore you guys to death and read the entirety of this thing. But starting off, it says settlement cycles measured in days, market hours that close while global business continues. For a bank, every hour that collateral sits in one system when it is needed and another represents a real economic loss. Enabling 24/7 capital mobility requires assets, cash, and market infrastructure to operate seamlessly. No single institution can solve this alone. It requires a network. And Canton Network, originally created by Digital Asset, is a public blockchain purpose-built for institutional finance. It enables financial institutions to move assets, cash, and collateral in real time 24/7. Canton fundamentally enables real-world assets to be tokenized in a way that is fit for institutional markets. Tokenized securities such as US Treasuries, equities, or structured products can exchange atomically with tokenized deposits and stablecoins. And this is not theoretical. That's what I like about it. It says here, this is not theoretical. Leading institutions are already active on Canton. So I like that on a custodial platform like Zodiac Custody that's backed by some of the largest institutions, it confirms that Canton Network and it being used by institutions is not theory. Like a lot of people, I feel like in crypto, have gravitated towards these theories that certain layer ones are being adopted by financial institutions. Well, with Canton, you don't have to theorize, you don't have to speculate. It actually is. And there's 110% confirmation, not speculative theories floating around, that it is being used, which I like. DTCC is bringing tokenized US Treasuries to the Canton network. Goldman Sachs, HSBC, BNP Paribas, and Societe Generale operate Canton native tokenization platforms used to issue bonds and structured products globally. JP Morgan, Lloyds, LSEG, and HSBC are bringing tokenized deposits to Canton. Intraday repo and securities financing, where over 50 market participants have already participated in on-chain flows on Canton in the past year. Balance sheets can be optimized in real time rather than reconciled after the fact. And then what I really like about this is because, of course, um, Aurelia was evolved in this. It says right here, Aurelia Dilemmas. Look at what she says here. And remember, she used to work at Ripple. So I find this very interesting that she says things like this, considering that she came from Ripple. Institutional capital continues to be constrained by legacy settlement windows and siloed systems. Canton and Zodia custody solutions ecosystem give financial institutions the ability to securely hold and move assets, cash, and collateral in real time. Then down here, the way that it finishes this up, it says, over the next few years, the expectation is that networks like Canton will become the connective tissue of institutional finance, linking the core building blocks of the system, assets, cash, and market infrastructure. The foundations are already in place. The focus is now on operationalizing and scaling them. And then down here it says finance finally now has the flowing that it should, which is just crazy to me that this is from, Zodia custody and collaboration with someone who used to work at Ripple, but now works for Digital Asset. And these things are being said.
Yeah, this is massive, bro.
The breaking announcement today, just a couple of minutes ago, MUFG plans a proof of concept using tokenized JGBs for intraday repo. And there's so much speculation around Japanese banks using the XRPL for the settlement of JGBs. But in reality, we haven't really seen anything officially announced on that front yet. But they have announced that they're using Canton for this, which I think is insane. So again, back to that theoretical nonsense that exists out there on the internet, we have to really start shifting our focus from facts and fiction. And the facts are that as of today, August 13th, 2026, MUFG, it says right here, MUFG Bank, together with 4 other companies, announced that together with Digital Asset Holdings, they are launching a collaboration on a proof of concept for bringing on-chain Japanese government bonds, JGB repo transactions using Canton Network, a blockchain purpose-built for institutional finance. Then it gives a full breakdown of the objective of this proof of concept. And down here it says, MUFG is launching the collaboration described below on a proof of concept for bringing JGB repo transactions on-chain toward the proof of concept and its subsequent implementation in society. We intend to engage in appropriate, in-depth communication with the relevant authorities and to work together not only within the MUFG, but with a wide range of market participants, including financial institutions in Japan and overseas. We also aim to further develop the projects in close collaboration with Morgan Stanley, our global strategic alliance partner. So this was just a really cool announcement to see in regards to Canton, just more confirmation that it is literally being embedded into traditional finance and will be a portion, because again, it's not going to be one blockchain to rule them all, but will be one of the layer 1 networks that is helping migrate TradFi and DeFi together. So this was cool to see.
Yeah, that's super cool to see, bro.
Moving on to Solana, because wow, this year I've grown exceptionally bullish on Solana. I personally never thought that we were going to have an opportunity to buy Solana below $100 again. But now we're seeing prices on Solana that we haven't seen since 2023, so over 3 years ago. So 110% I've been buying the dip on Solana, and I'll probably continue to buy as long as we're underneath of $80 on Solana for my DCA bags. But some things that I've realized about Solana is a lot of the large financial institutions are starting to mention it. For example, right now I'm going to play some video clips from one of the biggest digital asset treasuries that runs on Solana. I believe this is the 3rd largest digital asset treasury operated by this gentleman here, Joseph Onorati. Hopefully I'm not butchering his name. I think they hold upwards of 175 million Solana or something crazy like that. And then we also have individual representatives from Wisdom Tree that just recently spoke on a little tiny panel. We're going to play a little video clip from her, posted by the Solana LinkedIn profile. And then we also have a video clip of Sandy Call from Franklin Templeton, subliminally mentioning Solana. And then we also have a video clip from the Solana Accelerate conference that took place where Nadine Chakar mentions that they are interested in working with Solana. So remember what you said a second ago, Aqua, about how DTCC could be working with Solana. They haven't officially announced anything yet, but when we listen to what Nadine says, I think that it's a very good industry signal that there could be an announcement in the coming weeks / maybe months ahead. So starting off with this prediction here, this guy, again, the CEO of one of the largest digital asset treasury, or excuse me, he's not the CEO, my bad. Or maybe he is. Hold on, let me see. I think he maybe is the CEO. Dear founder, spent 9 years cracking to building, okay, maybe he is the CEO of this DAT. I don't know. But anyways, he plays a large role, this DAT. I think he's the CEO. But anyways, third largest digital asset treasury company is Solana. And listen to what his price prediction is for Solana in the next 6 to 12 months and then in the next few years.
Investors make their own individual choices.
All right. Okay. And Joseph, what's your projection for Solana's price 1 year down the road?
1 year?
Or let's break it down into 6 months and a year.
Oh, geez. Let's say, I don't know, very conservative. $400 6 months from now, $500 a year from now. However, we do have a long-term view that as more and more transactions move on chain, and our view that virtually all financial transactions will take place on chain, and that chain will be Solana, then we have a forecast and a presentation on a $10,000 per sol price.
Okay. And
yeah, bro.
10 racks Solana, bro.
10,000 Solana token. I mean, that's crazy. And then again, risk to reward, looking at it now, Solana's $75, So you get 100 of them bad boys, and then you just hold it for 5-10 years. What's the risk to reward on that? The risk to reward is massive on that, So there isn't really any excuse to at least hold like 100 Solana, because if you have 100 Solana and just let it sit there, the risk on that is what, $7,500 or something?
Hey, and the best part though too about Solana, there's mad places to stake your Solana. There's mad DeFi protocols built on Solana. You can get your Solana working and make passive income while you wait too.
110%, bro, especially on the loan protocol, a BCA compliant freaking DeFi protocol. You can you can earn 6% right now on Solana just by lending it out.
Bro, easy work, bro. Easy work.
And every single day, just loop that yield and buy more Solana or buy more XRP or buy more loan protocol or whatever assets you want to build bigger bags with the market's money.
Yeah, facts.
This was pretty cool. Solana posted this just a few hours ago. Says, hosted by Ben Brophy in an episode that starts with Wisdom Tree, and their read on what's coming next. She's asked the question. This is the lady here. I'm not too entirely sure what her role is. So she's the CFO. Let's see. She's head of digital asset research at Wisdom Tree. Doval, I'm not going to butcher her last name, but just listen to what she says when asked about her perspective on Solana.
Well, I'd be happy, definitely, be very happy. I mean, there's so many topics you and I want to discuss today. I know kind of starting to draw it to a bit of a close, but I was really intrigued, you and I sat here again in 12 months' time. What do you think is the one key thing that's going to happen over that 12-month period? What's your kind of forecast? What are you excited about?
So more and more institutional investors recognize that if they want to be market cap neutral, their global portfolio needs to have approximately 1 to 2% allocation to crypto. Most of those investors are making this allocation by investing into Bitcoin. But I expect that over the next 12 months, a portion of that 1 to 2% market cap neutral allocation will be invested in exposures such as Solana, which will allow them to experience the growth that will come from a lot of activity happening on Solana, a lot of assets being tokenized, a lot of retail apps being launched, a lot of day trading, and even trading meme coins that is beneficial for Solana blockchain. And institutional investors should not ignore this activity.
Yeah, fantastic.
So she just relayed a message, right? Institutions shouldn't ignore this, and she predicts that 1 to 2% allocation that's coming from institutions over the next 12 months, that Solana is going to get a portion of that. And she's not the only one who aligns with this. Now, Sandy Call was asked in this Coinage interview here, so shout out to Coinage for this, what she thinks the future trajectory of the market cap is going to be for crypto. And while she's talking through this, I don't know if you paid attention to this, Aqua, she could have mentioned any blockchain right now in the form of a layer one. Obviously, of course, Franklin Templeton has partnerships with Canton. They have partnerships with Stellar. They have partnerships with Solana, Ethereum. And she specifically mentioned Solana in her spiel. Now, obviously, of course, I'm making a speculative notion on this. But to me, as someone who works from or at a financial institution, if they're talking about a layer one publicly like this, and that's just like their thought process, then they're probably also having closed door meetings on this as well. Right. So listen to what she says here with this projection.
And I think, we're in a little bit of a crypto winter. So we're using that at Franklin Templeton as a real opportunity to bring more talent onto the platform and to really think about what does this next wave of growth, what is that going to look like? Where is that going to come from?
Yep.
And I think that we're very, very optimistic about where we see this next wave, right? I think that we got up to about 4 trillion in this last bull market. I think we're going to see multiples of that move into crypto. We could get 20, 30, maybe even north of that in terms of total money moving into the ecosystem.
Where does the confidence in that come from? Is it more just kind of early inklings of what you're seeing on the tokenization front? Because I know at Franklin, you guys were early in terms of putting things on chain and actually having distributions paid on chain. Is it more that or more what you were just kind of talking about in your new post around agentic payments? Which one are you more excited about?
So I actually think this is why I'm so optimistic, is I actually think it's like the intersection of 2 huge macro trends, right? So the first one is we are rebuilding the financial market infrastructure on crypto rails, right? We have not rebuilt the financial market infrastructure since the early 1970s. So we're really at this point working on a 50-year-old process.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit optimized around the edges in the last 50 years, but it's basically operating exactly the same way as it was in the early 1970s. I don't know many things in the world that still operate like it did in the early 1970s, if we're lucky.
Yeah.
So there's the intersection of that trend, and the global financial ecosystem is hundreds of trillions of dollars moving a day. And what's so interesting is it's always been 2 separate spheres. It's been the payment sphere and what happens with payments, and it's been the securities and investing sphere and what happens with investments. And in this new trend, they're going to come together. So you're talking about double the opportunity of being replatformed on these new rails from the financial ecosystem. At the same time, we are seeing this move now from generative AI to agentic AI. And agentic AI think of them as self-executing little programs that go out and negotiate transactions, initiate transactions, fulfill transactions. And they do that by working machine to machine. So if I tell my ChatGPT that I'd like to book a trip to Paris, my agent inside my ChatGPT will go find me flights, find me hotels, book me reservations, book me tours, right? I don't need to tell it to do all of that. It will go out and do it itself. And for every one of those transactions, it puts together a little contract and negotiates an agent and makes a payment, right? And so I think that this agentic payments, you can only have that kind of ecosystem operate if you are actually running it on blockchain, where they can recognize the smart contracts, verify the identity of the agent, execute the terms of the contract, record the transaction.
There are 2 things to that too, though. I think when you're talking about kind of bear bull, price action obviously matters in some of this. And so I think there have been questions ever since more money started to come on chain, how it starts to trickle into, I guess, getting from a bear market into a bull market.
That's right.
How do you see kind of like the price trickling through? Because someone could look at it and say, maybe I'm more bullish on the idea of owning the financial giants who are now stepping in and kind of operating some of this. Or I still believe that the price of the underlying tokens here are a better bet.
To record a transaction on a blockchain, you need the native cryptocurrency of that blockchain. So if an agentic payment is going to start to record millions of transactions a day on, and I'm just picking one here, Solana, it needs to hold SOL, right? If Franklin Templeton is recording our...
See what I'm saying, bro?
Hey, so you had the last guy, he's saying what he said about Solana. You just had Sandy Call say what she's saying about Solana. And then how about Solana being shown on the U.S. Faster Payments Council website as well on that diagram, right, side by side with XRPL and XPR network?
100%, bro. I'm telling you. And then on top of this, so this is from the Solana Accelerate just a couple of months ago. And so your speculation a second ago about the DTCC possibly announcing something with Solana, well, listen to what Nadine Chakar says, head of digital assets at DTCC, literally at the Solana conference. I feel like this went over a lot of people's heads. And this just goes to show that DTCC, for a fact, has confirmed, even though they haven't announced a partnership with Solana, they have officially announced verbally on stage that they are interested in Solana. Listen to this.
FinTech and everybody in between to try to figure out clever ways to be able to scale our technology, well, the market's technology.
Got it. All right. Well, you know, I like to keep it spicy per usual, and we're at the Solana Accelerate conference.
So we're going to accelerate.
We're going to accelerate. You were at Breakpoint last year. So can you please share your thoughts on Solana? And how are we thinking about it from a blockchain selection standpoint?
We are.
What can you share with us?
What can I share with you? Well, I'm here, so that should say it all. But we are examining Solana and working with the leadership and others. Again, it will be driven by client demand. We're also we need to understand its fit with our technology. Can it add value? Is it as secure as we need it to be? So we've got some work, but we would like it if our clients want to have it as part of our offering. But we still have a little bit more. So Nick, if you're listening to me.
Right. So she just said that we would like to have it if our clients want it. We need to pay attention to see if it's fit with our technology. But when asked the question, how do you feel about Solana? She hesitated to say anything. And she said, well, what can I say? And then she said, I'm here. And that should say enough.
And here being, it looks like based on the backdrop of the stage, she's at like some sort of Solana event.
Yeah, she's at the Solana Accelerate event.
Oh, okay.
Damn, so that dope. To me is nonverbal confirmation of a future announcement with the DTCC and Solana. As we know that it's not going to be one network to rule them all, and the DTCC is going to choose multiple different networks. They've said that themselves many different times. First being Canton and Besu, second being, or collectively speaking, third being Stellar in 2027. I wouldn't be surprised if we see other major announcements either towards the end of this year or maybe rolling into 2027 Q1, Q2 of other major layer ones being chosen to work with the DTCC. So that was big. Rolling over into some of the fundamentals that we have, this was pretty cool, put out directly from one of the largest crypto native banks in crypto. We have Signum Bank, and it's talking about this new proposal. Validators are signaling support for two linked governance proposals, SIMD 0550 and SIMD 0553 on Solana that would reshape how Solana is issued and burned. Together, they would accelerate the network's move to its terminal inflation rate, pulling it towards 2029 from 2032. So that's pretty crazy. That's a pretty big difference. 2029 is right around the corner. And removing roughly 18.9 million Solana of future emissions while lifting the amount of Solana burn through network activity. The first signaling stage has cleared and binding voting is expected later this month. So, you know, again, just something else that might create a little bit of long-term demand for Solana, the token. And I thought that was cool being put out by a bank. More developments. 3 hours ago, Solana put this one out. Bullish Exchange has executed the first tokenized equity trade on regulated digital asset exchange. The shares are tokenized on the Solana network. Bullish tokenized its own stock, BLSH, on Solana, and today those shares started trading on Bullish Exchange. Settled against USD stablecoin, Bullish Exchange is regulated by the Gibraltar Financial Service Commission. Trading runs 24/7 with near instant settlement placed off the T1 or T+1 batch cycle. The tokens are issuers sponsored and recorded at the registry level. Holders get the direct share ownership with the same legal standing as conventional shareholders, not a synthetic position or third-party wrapper. So this was just, again, another interesting announcement that Solana holds the cap table of a New York Stock Exchange listed company and that equity now trades. Then this was also put out by Solana, and this is directly from an individual representative from MoneyGram. As we know, in the most recent announcement, MoneyGram is now live on Solana. Given builders direct access to MoneyGram's global fiat and off-ramp infrastructure through a single API, the integration brings cash deposits in over 25 different countries and withdrawals in over 170 countries and territories to Solana apps, wallets, and exchanges. MoneyGram Ramps is embedded now in the Solana developer platform payments module, which is designed to connect Solana builders with payment flows through their application needed for real-time users at scale. So let's listen here to what this lady from MoneyGram has to say.
This is a very cool announcement. MoneyGram Ramps are live on Solana. What does that mean? That means that MoneyGram has 500,000 locations all over the world, one of the biggest networks in the world for people who are moving money across borders. And they've opened up that infrastructure for people who are building on Solana. So what that means, if you're building a wallet or an application on Solana, you can actually tap into MoneyGram's API and make it easy for people to either go to one of their locations all over the world to be able to take cash in and actually get that on-ramped into a wallet. Or if you're in one of 170 countries around the world and going to a MoneyGram location, you can actually off-ramp and take money that lives in a Solana wallet and actually turn that into local cash. So it's an incredibly exciting day because it's the intersection of this sort of timeless physical last mile market that exists for basically people trying to move money across the world, and this really fast, cheap, real utility layer of the Solana network.
So I thought that that was a pretty cool announcement. Just goes to show some more things that are happening behind the scenes that it's going to allow, mainstream adoption for Solana network. Now, I thought that you would really like this one, bro. This is cool because I'm pretty sure that we've talked about this and the start of this being able to happen, which is, commodities tokenized and then being able to lend out your gold, lend out your silver and earn yield on it. I mean, this literally changes the game for the average retail investor. So today we had SILV or SILV from Dominion Market now live on Solana. And so when we go over to what this is, why SILV, real silver made useful across the on-chain economy. So now individuals can literally buy silver digitally and you can earn yield on it. It says right here, real silver. Silver is designed to be backed by physical silver, not synthetic exposure or paper promises. 1-to-1. 1 silver equals 1 troy ounce of physical silver. Solana native speed issued on Solana so you can transfer, trade, and integrate silver exposure with low fees and fast settlement 24/7. Then here mentions DeFi utility. Where supported, silver or SILV can be used in liquidity pools, lending markets, and treasury strategies to access liquidity or earn variable assets. Yield is not guaranteed, of course, but still, the fact that we now have the ability as retail investors to buy little tiny micro amounts of silver or have exposure to silver and earn yield on it is just insane. And this is obviously, of course, on the Solana network. So that was just another crazy announcement this month so far in August. So that is all that I had to share today on Canton and Solana. Again, just showing you guys that there are ongoing developments that people should be paying attention to. Make sure that you're not being shaken out by this, downturn, this market turmoil that we've recently seen. Understand why we're seeing pullbacks in digital assets across the board. And it's not just, one layer one network, it's all of them. We're literally seeing a restructuring right now of the financial system. At the meantime, we're seeing a massive risk off event, massive turn of risk off fundamentals that have weighed on risk taking from an institutional standpoint. And we've seen that sell pressure reflected in very risky assets like the digital asset landscape. Understand that one day that's going to turn around and you don't want to be on the opposite end of that, not positioned well when institutional FOMO, real utility, and real tokenization at scale really truly kicks in, looking back 5-10 years from now. So that's my spiel. Many blessings to you guys, Aqua, bro. If you have anything, if not, I'll let you get back to your day. I appreciate your time, bro.
Nah, I think you said it best there at the end. So I appreciate you as well. It's a pleasure coming back up on here. I haven't been up here in a few weeks, or probably more than that. So it feels great to be up here. But yeah, remain resilient out there, guys, and don't get sucked into the bullshit and all the I guess negative sentiment. Paying attention to content like this and people who are putting out stuff that is really good quality content like Cypress. Those are the people you want to tap into at this moment in time. And just remain to hang in there. And the finish line is coming soon, guys. So who knows when it's coming, but you don't want to be caught on the outside of crypto. You want to be on the inside of crypto when that finish line comes through. So yeah, much love to everybody, though. That's all I got.
For sure, bro. Blessings and enjoy your weekend. Everybody else, have a good weekend. And I'll see you guys next week.
Peace, everybody.